As we begin this broadcast, let's cut across to the Buckingham Palace in London. For all our viewers tuning into WION World is One at this hour, these are live visuals coming from outside the Buckingham Palace in London. As we've been showing you on WION through the day, people are leaving flowers and personal tributes outside the palaces and churches across the UK, marking the death of Queen Elizabeth II. Britain has now entered a 10-day mourning period. And for more details, we are now being joined by Ollie Barrett from Windsor. Ollie, thanks for joining us at this hour. I want you to give our viewers a sense of what's happening in the UK as of now. Britain has entered a 10-day mourning period.
That's right. There are a couple of different types of mourning period underway. There's a national mourning period, and the government will tell us exactly how long that is going to last, which will be linked to the date of the Queen's funeral, which is not yet set in stone. There's also a period of royal mourning, which relates to all of the royal households and royal properties and buildings and staff, and that goes on for longer. And we've heard from Buckingham Palace this morning that Prince Charles, now King Charles, has decided that that period of mourning will go on for a week after the Queen's funeral has taken place. And as I say, we don't yet have the details on the date for the funeral just yet, probably on the September the 18th or 19th days, the Sunday or the Monday. That's what the protocol would suggest, that protocol that's been in place for so many years in preparation for just this type of event. Other things going on today include cabinet meeting as we speak. Liz Truss, the new Prime Minister, just a few days into the job, and what a few days in the job it has been for her. That cabinet meeting, we understand, has nothing on the agenda other than the passing of the Queen, tributes to her, and some discussion about preparations for what will unfold over the next 10 days or so here in the UK with regards to all of the ceremonial elements and the preparations for the Queen's funeral, which will be a huge occasion, and final decisions need to be made on things like which foreign dignitaries are going to get invitations, how many people can be accommodated at Westminster Abbey for that event, how many people will gather in London for that event, and how will officials manage the crowds on what is expected to be a very busy day indeed. Also today at Parliament, MPs are gathering to pay tribute to the Queen. They've effectively thrown their normal business out of the window and are gathering again just to pay tribute to her. They'll also gather on Saturday, and that will be a period in which senior MPs, some of them, will also swear an oath to the incoming King Charles. He, by the way, over the next 10 days or so, will also embark on a tour of the nation. But today, we expect him to travel down from Scotland to London and address the country at some point.
Absolutely. Ollie, you know, we've been talking about tributes pouring in from across the world, global leaders, the people of the UK. Some have said that she is the only queen that they would have seen in a lifetime. What explains the bond between the British and the monarchy at this point of time?
Well, one of the things is exactly what you just said, the fact that she's just always been there. For the vast majority of British people, they've known nothing else than the Queen as their head of state. Now, coupled with that is the fact that a majority of Brits, according to polling, feel that she's done a good job in that role. It's entirely possible that a future monarch could be less favourably viewed by the public, and that would reflect more widely on the institution of the monarchy as well. But Brits seem to feel that the Queen has been loyal, dedicated, has carried out her duties, public service, hard work, thousands and thousands of engagements domestically and internationally over the years. And I think many Brits also feel that at times of difficulty, she has been there, not just in the background, but has often said things that have resonated with the British people. Remember during the COVID-19 pandemic, when she gave an address to the nation talking about how people would meet again, they'd see their friends again, those words that people really seemed to appreciate at that time. And so bound up all together, the Queen is absolutely has been a constant in people's lives, and one that has now gone. And that, I think, is part of the explanation for the reaction that we're seeing from some people now, and that we will see over the next week or so, is the fact that they are having to deal with the loss of something that's always been there. And this is an unprecedented event for the UK, unprecedented also for all Brits alive at this point. They've never seen anything like this, and that's why their reactions and their emotions for some people can be unpredictable.
Right, absolutely. There's a common strain that's coming in as we are speaking to more historians, those who've travelled with the Queen as well, that she wasn't exactly a political figure, but she was a symbol of unity, a constant in changing times. Her death has happened at a time when the UK is battling multiple crises. There's a new Prime Minister, of course. How have the people of England taken to this news?
Look, there are some people who think that there are so many crises going on at the moment that it's the wrong time to be spending 10 days with much governmental business suspended, talk of holidays and mourning, and people on the streets for funerals and that type of thing. And here in Windsor, many people are just getting on with their daily lives. But a lot of other people are also feeling that they want to mark this in some way. People have been streaming up the hill behind me again today to lay flowers and gather at Windsor Castle and pay their respects in one way or another, or simply just to gather up there with people that they know. That's one of the ways that people know how to respond to the loss of someone, whether they know them or not, is to just go somewhere and be with other people and reflect on what's happened. But it is a time of crisis, and we do have a new Prime Minister. We therefore have a week for the UK in which you have a new Prime Minister and a new monarch at the same time. So just adding to that sense of all of this being unprecedented. And when you lose a constant, stable figure at a time of uncertainty.
Absolutely. Ollie, just interjecting there, you mentioned the new monarch. Let's talk about King Charles as we wrap up our discussion. How is his reign going to be perceived? He remains a controversial figure in the royal family.
He does remain a controversial figure for some people in the royal family. I think it very much remains to be seen how he is viewed in the coming years.
Right, absolutely, Ollie. Thank you so much for all those inputs. Thanks for joining us on the broadcast at this hour from now. Tributes came pouring in from world leaders after Britain's Queen Elizabeth passed away on Thursday. Britain's new Prime Minister Liz Truss addressed the nation from 10 Downing Street. She spoke about the legacy of the Queen, her dedication to duty, and how great a loss her passing was.
Through thick and thin, Queen Elizabeth II provided us with the stability and the strength that we needed. She was the very spirit of Great Britain, and that spirit will endure.
Truss noted how the Queen appointed her as the new Prime Minister on Tuesday, just 2 days before her death. That was also the first and last time she met the Queen. And across the English Channel, Paris shut off the lights of the Eiffel Tower as a mark of respect for the Queen's passing. French President Emmanuel Macron said he would remember her as a kind-hearted queen and a friend of France. Many former colonized nations flew their flags at half-mast, Canada among them. The Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau heaped praises on the Queen and said that Canada was in mourning.
It is with the deepest of sorrow that we learn today of the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. She was our Queen for almost half of Canada's existence, and she had an obvious, deep, and abiding love and affection for Canadians.
And flags flew at half-mast in the United States as well. The National Cathedral in the capital, Washington, D.C. rang its bell 96 times for the Queen, who died at the age of 96 after a 70-year reign. The US President Joe Biden put out his official statement on Twitter. He later went on to the British Embassy in Washington, D.C. to sign the official condolence book. He could be heard saying that the Queen was a great lady and that he was delighted that he got to meet her.
Mr. President, could I invite you to sign the book?
Yes. Am I able to write a message?
If you would like to, sir.
In Brazil, the Rio de Janeiro iconic statue, Christ the Redeemer, was lit up in a tribute to the Queen. While Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro called the Queen an extraordinary woman and declared 3 days of official mourning. The people of Australia and New Zealand woke up to the news of the Queen's passing. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese addressed the country to announce the Queen's passing.
Today marks the end of an era, the close of the second Elizabethan age. This time of mourning will pass, but the deep respect and warm regard in which Australians have always held for Her Majesty will never fade. May she rest in eternal peace.
For more analysis, we are now being joined by Arsen Otrovsky, who is a human rights attorney and political analyst from Tel Aviv, Israel. Arsen, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. Give us a sense of how the people in Israel have responded to this tragic news. We know the Israeli Prime Minister has sent in his condolences.
Sure. Look, both the Israeli Prime Minister and President have sent in their condolences. We've had flags flying here at half-mast. There have been the walls of the old city in Jerusalem lit up with the flags of the United Kingdom and Israel. There's, I think, a great and tremendous outpouring of grief here, and also a sense of respect for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. Although she never visited Israel in person, she certainly enjoyed very warm and cordial relations with both the State of Israel and the Jewish people, especially with Israel. Where under her reign, I think relations between the two countries have gone really from strength to strength. And even here in Israel, I think there's an unparalleled, I suppose, sense of respect for her reign, for the sense of class, elegance, and dignity, and respect that she showed, and this incredible respect, I think, for all the nations and the people where she reigned. So it's certainly, her loss is certainly felt here in Israel as well.
Right. Arsen, the Queen has been praised for being a symbol of unity in troubled times. Give us a sense of the milestones or any moments that you may be able to tell our viewers about which strengthened the ties between the UK and Israel because of the Queen. Sure.
I mean, look, she welcomed Israeli leaders, presidents. She bestowed an honorary knighthood, I believe, that's the correct honorific, upon the former president of Israel, President Peres. She had done exceptional amount of work in terms of the Holocaust remembrance and education in the UK. She was very, very warmly respected by the Jewish community in the UK as well. She's really someone that has, she reigned for over 7 decades. She came on to, she was coronated in 1953, which was only a mere 5 years after the modern state of Israel was born. So she very much also lived throughout the history of the modern state of Israel, and we've seen relations between the two countries really go from strength to strength at a point where they are really at their peak today.
Is there a sense of the feeling among Commonwealth nations since the Queen's passing?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, I'll repeat my question. I'm asking that is there a sense of the feeling amongst the people of the Commonwealth nations in particular since the Queen's passing?
I'm not sure what you mean by sense of feeling.
I'm referring to her ties with different regions, former colonies, and people across the world, not just in Britain.
Yeah, look, I think throughout the world, she was universally admired and respected wherever she went, and that includes both within the Commonwealth, and I also very much believe outside the Commonwealth as well. The UK, including under her leadership, enjoyed tremendous relations with the US, with various countries in Europe and elsewhere. I think throughout the upheaval of her reign and during the time, especially in the last few decades as well, when the world has been changing so ever rapidly, whether through COVID, wars, technological advances, she has certainly been a bedrock of stability in an otherwise, rapidly evolving world. So someone who has led with dignity, with respect, and I think with almost universal admiration throughout the world.
Absolutely, Arsen. Thank you so much for all those insights, and thanks for joining us on the broadcast at this hour.